Welcome, Vijay, as well as Ujjwalji, to this wonderful conversation as such. So today I feel very honored to be here. It's like two wonderful people, more so friends first, and then, very respected people from my life. Thank you for being here. And also, it feels like I am, young kid, sort of working with two experienced people in the sector of coaching and just absorbing all that you have to share. And with the pre-recording aspect has been a lot of fun, lot of banter, and I'm sure with Ujjwalji around it is going to be a very light podcast. So that's why we've dimmed our light here so that he gets all the spotlight. So that's the thing, and welcome to this conversation. And we'll see as it goes how this is. So I very strongly put MCCs on the hot seat. So I want to get into the aspect of becoming an MCC. So I heard too many things about that. You should do this, you should not do this, and that's how the whole conversation started. And you said, let's do this, and so here we are. So I always get this question from other MCC people who are on that route, saying, "Who are you becoming when you answer this question?" And my answer always is, I was the same, I am the same, and I will be the same. I don't think I have something different to become or unbecome after this. So, what is your answer to that? Who are you becoming when you enter this podcast?
Well, you can start with your lightness.
Okay. Yeah. So, Sunil, I can say that, who are you becoming? First of all, some of your savings will be eroded because you spend a lot on MCC training. And then some of your patience will be eroded because you will be submitting a lot of recordings, facing rejections, etc., etc. And then what ICF is becoming your evaluator. They will become a bit richer also because you will pay fees to them. But at the same time, I must say, who are you becoming? That feeling will be shifted greatly once you cross the passing line. Once you get your MCC, you will become a different person. Not you will become then, but in the process you won't realize because you are in the moment. But once you look back, you will realize that you have become a very different person from within. Okay, and hopefully, uh, clients also perceive you, and they will let you charge different billing rates. So you are becoming slightly richer. That's on the hope part. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is what is emerging for me, and I'll let Vijay share her wisdom.
Thanks, Ujjwal, and great question, Sunil. In fact, I must say, I was, answering a very similar question in an interview on exploring mastery, right, where they were seeking, I think, views from master coaches worldwide, and I had a very similar question, right, saying what is really that essence, and um I think you said it very nicely in your question. I'm the same person, right? And that's the truth. We are the same people. I mean, there's no taking that away, right? At the core of who we are. And I think that's what makes us authentic, congruent human beings. I think what a journey like mastery, whether it's coaching mastery or mastery of any other craft, and especially one like coaching mastery, where you have to be, really have to understand yourself well. I think what it does is put yourself in touch with parts of you you may have forgotten, or also in parts of you had not owned up fully. Like, for example, Ujjwal, you spoke about his lightness, and being his friend, I can say this. Take that away from him, take away his humor. He will feel like a very different person, right? But I'm sure he, in his mastery journey, has integrated that humor, that lightness about him in a far more authentic and congruent way. Yeah. Competencies don't, for example, any of the bodies, right, don't really expressly talk about humor and things like that. Though, of course, there is a mention of lightness in coaching. But to be able to then bring in yourself into that service, I think that's what it does. For which you have to start owning it, right? Not shying away from it. For example, for me, I am a very courageous person. And I think for a long time in my coaching, I would always think, how much of that can I bring in? It's not about how much can I bring in and I cannot. Is it who I am? And if I hold back parts of myself from service of my clients, then I'm playing less, right? I'm not playing to my full potential. So I think mastery enables me and you and anybody on that journey to do that in a completely unashamed way. Yeah. You get comfortable in your own skin. So while I think you evolve, you I won't say transform, that's very personal. Definitely there's an evolution because you see parts of yourself you may have chosen to overlook, you may have overlooked, or you may have thought, what's the big deal about this? So mastery also enables you to be beautifully in touch with your own strengths and bring that in service of your clients in a very ethical way without violating the boundaries of the profession.
Interesting. And does that always need to be through a certification conversation, right? So that is that is a question I've been asking myself, saying from where I started to where I am, I have seen quite a lot of these blind spots exposed, sort of brought into mainstream conversation for myself. And then I don't know when a particular piece of land is moving into another territory. So maybe borders are for individuals or humans. Animals don't have borders. The bird does not care whether it is flying between Sri Lanka to India or India to Sri Lanka, vice versa, right? So, but there is a typical space where there's a transitionary aspect that somebody else is that says, okay, now you are XYZ coach ready. ACC, PCC, MCC, any number of that. You're ready. So, how does one know that this is a journey that has been started or you arrived, you're yet to arrive? How's that conversation? 'Cause I loved your answers in terms of the unknowns becoming now far more relevant and acceptance becoming a part of the story and authenticity coming into that equation. But how will I know? I feel I'm authentic now, but am I operating already at that place? How will I know? So all of these are muddled up areas. And I think not just me, but there are other coaches who are also in a similar thought process. And I don't know if this is an biased thing. Indians love exams. So they're like, okay, this exam done, that exam done. So the next one that is there is only MCC, so let's get there. So that's the thing. So what are your thoughts now that I've put the raw aspects out?
Yeah, I can go first on that, Sunil, only because we've spoken about it before. And one part of it I'm talking about, right? The TLAs. We also love TLAs, right? 3-letter acronyms. So, and I think that's the one thing we should not be doing. And let me say it as it is. MCC, and I'm just sort of taking MCC as an example, right? There are other mastery credentials as well. Is not what follows PCC. I think it's really important to understand that. Because if we do that, then I feel the beauty, the depth, and I think the potential of that journey in preparation for even, let's say, a credential gets lost. I remember when I was pursuing, my mastery journey in a more formal sense, some well-meaning mentors actually advised me, some seniors in the profession, saying, you don't really need it, right? I mean, I think, and this is about quite some years back. Of course, the market and other things have also evolved, but saying that it's like doing a PhD in coaching. You don't need to be a PhD in anything to do well in that profession. I mean, I think a PhD is good. So, in all good intention, I was told, and as Ujjwal said, it's a very expensive proposition. I don't think it's gotten any cheaper, investing in that education, etc. And I was told saying, you're really not, the money that you're kind of putting in or the time and, all of that, and knowing you're going to really, go all out for this, may not give you the kind of return. And much rather you just focus and do your work. Yeah. Now, that's exactly the point, right? I mean, that's a very narrow way of looking at a journey like this. And it certainly is not a next credential. So you don't really need it even today in that sense. So if you ask me after MCC, did my business become 10x? I'd love to say it did. Okay. But I don't think it works that way. And I'm not taking away from this, right? From the credential or the process. I mean, there are 4% of coaches worldwide, I think, who even have the credential. That says something. But the larger point is there is that inner compass, and whether you like it or no, like in coaching, only you will know, Sunil. And when you know and you feel it, the world will feel it. So, uh, getting through the exam, passing the credential test, etc., is only one part of the story. And my simple answer for why you need it is, I think, just consumer protection. It gives consumers a basic benchmark. Like, for example, would you, for a specialty disease, you would like to go to an MD, right, rather than a GP.
Correct.
But it doesn't mean that the GP does not have his or her worth. Absolutely, you do, because some of them can, it may not even be a specialty ailment. And you go to that MD who has that, that certificate, right? So in a sense, it's a license. Now you may get into saying that, but it's not regulated. Who gives a certification? So those are different conversations. But I think there are at least, bodies like ICF and EMCC, which have, I think, that standing today to say, and the rigor, that this credential means X, Y, and Z. So we need it, I think, lesser for the coaches to feel that they're ready or not ready or good or not good. But I think you need it more for the consumers to give them some kind of, rule book or some kind of a guideline as to who they can expect what from. Now, ultimately, that experience is not up to the mark or not what the client wanted. Yes, that can always happen, like it can happen even with a doctor, the best doctors. Yeah, operation successful, patient dead, possibly. I don't mean to be gory, but you get the drift.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's a different perspective. So from the external world's perspective, MCCs or any credential for that matter is an aspect of trust that is built into the system.
I'd love to know what Ujjwal is thinking.
He's thinking very deeply, so I am sure the answer is going to
I
be
hope he's not going to push me on this, but I would like to be pushed also contra you.
Yeah. No, I think Vijay beautifully shared what you have shared. I would just add, completely agreeing to what you have shared, I would just add on the top of what you have mentioned and completely aligning with your thought process there is because, what happens is that there is an aspect, right? There is a reason why, say, 100 hours for ACC, 500 for PCC, and 2,500 for MCC because you are getting matured in the process, you are getting seasoned, you have got experience of breadth and depth of client scenarios, and you have done something from the process perspective to deal with those scenarios, right, as a coach. Now, also, I would say that here there are few mentors, there are few coach training institutions seem to be holding a magic wand and they say that come to us, you enter as say PCC and exit as MCC, right? So they are demeaning the evolution or the inner work that coach needs to do in order to become MCC. So initially you ask becoming, but I think I would also indicate that who are you being without taking that away, what are you adding layers to, or what are you delayering yourself, what Vijay alluded to earlier? So if that is not happening, then it is like this. There are so many doctors who become doctor. They are certified doctors, but how much of proficiency and enrichment that has happened with them, that only the time and their experience will tell. So I also know several MCCs who have become MCCs, but when client, say a corporate client, is inviting them to do a demo, say let's have a demo, and they fall flat there because they become MCC, they become, but that being part of it or unbecoming and then becoming the mastery part of it has not gone below the surface level. So that's a test in the market, right? So that's something I wanted to indicate.
That's
Wow, now he's being the courageous
beautiful.
one. No, I just want to add on to
And
that, right?
probably
And I'm
outrageous also, but
no, but Sunil told us we could be honest on this, right? Like I was saying, one of the things that I want to take off the pressure on this one, right? I met a very senior PCC. When I mean senior, been in the practice for at least 10 plus years. Met me and said, I want your advice. And I said, yeah. So I've now been PCC for more than a decade. And my practice is going okay and everything is fine. But I'm feeling this pressure that several people who started the journey much after me have actually become MCCs and are becoming MCCs. So does that reduce my credibility in any way? I respected the vulnerability of the question because we must also understand that this peer pressure in the coaching ecosystem is real. Yeah, everyone's doing a certification. Let me kind of do it. Everyone has a preferred psychometric. Let me have one. This can actually be very real, and I'm not sort of judging it. So my simple answer was, do you feel you want to be building, growing, deepening your practice really, or you want to take yourself and your own journey to the next level, right? Far more transformatively. You may be doing great work, and if you're comfortable with where you are, the service that you're offering, the value that your clients see, and you don't feel the need for that kind of a deeper internal transformative journey, right? And chisel yourself a little bit more, make the saw sharper, go far deeper, then it's perfectly okay. Because you'd much rather be a highly respected, well-regarded, fantastic PCC than the kind of MCC that Ujjwal was talking. So, to my PCC friends or ACC friends listening on this call, let this be your decision, right? And the converse is also true. Let people not judge you when you should be ready. I don't see why a 30-year-old cannot pursue mastery, right? If you see some of the more nuanced crafts, some of the youngest people actually, sports players, right, who take the game to absolute mastery at a very young age. So, but then look at the kind of sacrifice, the dedication, it's almost religious,
Mm.
it's almost spiritual. So that's what I would say.
I think you brought a very interesting topic, Vijay, of I am a kid confused now because entered a sweet stall and everybody is offering so many of these beautiful sweets. So too many tangents to sort of sit with. Ujjwalji brought up the topic of the coach factory conversation, right? So that is one aspect that I thought of. The other one is in terms of what you now just brought up in terms of people, the younger coaches, this thing. So I have had an experience personally where I've said, you're too young to be a coach. You're too young to be an MCC. You're too young to be XYZ. So I have had that experience personally with multiple people coming to me and say, oh, How can you still have hair? You don't have white hair. So how do I trust you with your skill set? And you also brought up the aspect of people, younger people coming into the equation. And there, one of the things you mentioned in terms of sports, which I went to IPL and cricket, and you know these 14, 15-year-olds who storm the internet, storm the space, and then suddenly disappear. That also brought the aspect for me of how coaching, when I coach or when I get coached, I want it to be playful as much as impactful. So that maybe with both of you that I've never seen a very serious, like now or never, do or die kind of a coaching with any of you or conversations with any of you. It's always been light. It's been fun, it's been banter, it's been light in all terms of learning, in all terms of conversation. And coaching also, for a lack of my experience, has been extremely serious. So I again put these thoughts and I leave it back to you to unpack and unfold.
Men first, Ujjwal. Today being International Men's Day.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, so I'm looking for the date when Domestic Men's Day. I'm looking for the date when Domestic Men's Day is also celebrated. So, okay, okay. So Sunil, to respond to what you have mentioned, I think even as a coach educator, I strongly put this out there to not link coaching mastery with credential. Okay, because I believe that if coaching mastery is inculcated right from the beginning, or the person's own self-awareness take them through a different evolution, then coaching mastery even an ECC coach can do. Because and I would like to cite a very quick example. And it is mentioned in this amazing book, The Autobiography of a Yogi. Okay, when Paramahansa Yogananda asked his guru that how many years it will take to have an astral travel or out of body experience.
Hmm.
So so he said that it's not very difficult. He said, no, but I'm just a newbie on this journey. So his guru says that this just belief that it will take so many years keeps people away. He said, I can teach you tomorrow. And they decided on a time. And within a short teaching, he showed him the technique and he was able to travel out of his body, look at his body from a 360-degree view. And again, he entered into his body. He said it was purely trainable. So I also advocate this, though Vijay is an advocate by training, but I advocate this that coaching mastery is to be enabled or is to be allowed because it's already there within. We just have to remove the roadblocks. But road to MCC, many a times people's own desperation that MCC is a destination. It is something, it's like I have to climb a mountain. But I tell them that it's like a step well. If you would have seen a step well,
Hmm. Hmm.
it's a journey inward, and when you reach to the core, you will find a water reservoir. So that's the perspective I also wanted to bring in.
Wow. Beautiful. Really nice. I mean, I was just visualizing the step well, and you know, that also takes us back to these are things you uh, do quite freely in your childhood, right, Sunil? And you
Yeah.
and I have spoken earlier about
Yes.
the power of being a child.
Yeah.
Child state is so powerful.
Yeah.
And somewhere I think as we become coaches, more hardened coaches,
Yeah.
more experience, I
Yeah.
don't know where this child in us goes. And I think that's where the lightness comes. Um, and 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 I think there's a thin line there, and in my own work, for me, I take my clients, their world, what they come in with, what I'm doing for them, what I'm being with them, with utmost seriousness. But my own self, I don't take that seriously. I hope you can get the nuance.
Yeah.
So that goal never slips, right? We don't take this work lightly ever. I mean, we lose the plot the day we start doing that, the day we start cutting corners, the day we start judging topics and say, okay, yeah, this one is like this and this one is like that. But I think where we don't take ourselves seriously is to keep judging ourselves, right? So, in fact, Ujjwal said that earlier, right? The real journey begins after probably, the real understanding transformation begins later. Um, I think, somewhere along the way, and now I've gone through 2 renewals of, my MCC credential. I'm very comfortable to make mistakes, very comfortable to mistakes not at the cost of the client. Yeah, let me kind of tell you, right? I'm not sort of using my clients as guinea pigs or anything, but mistakes that can happen to a human being and keeps the process very human. Right? I do not want to be an AI coaching my client where I am so picture perfect, right? So that's the way it should be. And when you do that, you obviously cannot take yourself that seriously, right? If you want to look your best on every single coaching call. So it's okay to take yourself. And I think the lightness that you're talking about comes from there. Because then when you're okay, it's okay to share a joke. It's okay to have a lighter moment. It's okay to just be as human beings first before we each take our positions, right? You're the client, I'm the coach. You're the service seeker, I'm the service provider. Then the boundaries start happening. What if together we redefine that and say, yeah, sure, these roles are there, but together we are trying to solve for something here. And what we solve for is something you decide, not me.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I add something? See, if you become International Childlike Federation, don't become childish, but become childlike. And that's where mastery is hidden just behind.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have a sort of a complaint towards some of the learnings here, and I'm more so from a space where I know you quite well. In terms of, I think you should do a lot more demos where we would see what mastery looks like, because we've been sold an idea of mastery without knowing what it is. And I'm not sure if it is sold, but yes, still sold. So my greatest problem until I found my guru, which is Ujjwalji, was how do I know that I'm a good coach? I've done my credentials, I've done my training. My clients say you're a good coach. My peer coaching says I don't find anything bad about your out of the box bad about what you're doing. You're following the process, you're following the line. But how do I know if I'm good as a coach? So internally, I should be confident and I'm, yeah, good. So that moment for me came when I met Ujjwalji and I said, okay, this is when, okay, these are my radars. This is when I know who of the client. And again, it's a journey in itself, right? So, but a lot of people who come to me to get mentored and, sort of, for a lack of a better word, I call orphan coaches, because they get into coach training, they've been sold extremely beautiful ideas, and then they hit the ground running, and the fuel's empty as soon as they hit the first 10 sessions. Because the what they were sold and what the reality is a is a whole new ballgame. So one of the coaches asked me saying, Sunil, I need to by heart 83 questions. I said in 60 minutes you can't ask 83 questions. Why do you need to by heart 83 questions? So there is that space where there's no taste of the elixir and everybody's chasing that elixir. So I don't know if it made sense because there's so many thoughts to that. That my complaint is I don't see enough Indian coaches I can sort of resonate with doing demos that's openly accessible to somebody and say, hey, this is what it is. Because the ones I see on YouTube, I don't resonate. So
I'm going to answer
that's
this,
me.
Sunil,
Yeah.
and I'm going to give you an answer probably I don't know how that's going to land with you, but let me say it. And, I speak for myself. Would love to know Ujjwal's thoughts as well. Honestly speaking, um, I have a concern with these demos. Okay. I'll tell you why. In a learning space with, say, several observers, you are in a performance mode, it's really hard to replicate that condition of absolute sacred trust and safety. Yeah. So, what I wish we could actually bring to the world, which again, there are practical challenges around confidentiality, is, having those dash cams, right? Or the hidden cams, actually capturing the room when some of these conversations happen. Because I'm pretty sure if I do a mastery demo, no one, or probably is every high chance that people are not going to say, oh wow, so that was masterful coaching. It would seem as normal and as expected as a coach should be coaching. Yeah. This is not me being critical of myself, but I think the value, I think the beauty, the mastery aspect of it comes in, at least for me, in what happens across sessions, in between sessions, how I'm showing up, right? This is like, I know they say, right, you taste one grain of rice, you can taste the dish, but this is a little different, because different parts of that dish are very different. So, and also some of these aspects that we talk about, and I'm going to be very candid about this, that are not very beautiful, are not perfect, are not perfectly finished. There's a lot of rawness, there's a lot of discomfort. The client, the session ends in a very, with typical, and I think that's where the difference is between a recording and between actual sessions in working with, say, a masterful coach. Every session does not, cannot be neatly packaged into how we would like it to be, right? So I'm not very sure, Sunil, what one will get, unless one is ready to accept and say that, this ruggedness, this discomfort, this, sometimes even messy, very messy sort of situations that coaching is presenting is all part of a masterful approach. And like I said earlier, that is what distinguishes it, because clients are then, held in that container for not one, not two sessions, but say over 10, 12 months. That's also a reason why I generally do not contract my engagements less than at least 8 to 10 months. Because transformation, growth, inner work, the depth, all of that takes time. So in fact, I wish nobody would see my first 2, 3 sessions with a new client, because it's really awkward, But that's replicating real world. I mean, you go on a date with somebody, you're meeting, somebody for the first time. How are the first 2 meetings going to be? You don't expect magical, nothing happened and we got each other completely. So I feel, and I think that's where I want to go back to what Ujjwal said, an MCC level recording, and I think a masterful coaching conversations are 2 different things. And I hear you, right? I hear you that sometimes we need those, those evidences, some things to look up and refer to. But again, it's a little paradoxical, because the whole mastery journey is so uniquely you. We want you to be coaching the way Sunil as a masterful coach will be coaching, which will be very different from the way Viji's MCC recording will look, or rather should look. I'm sure, yeah. I mean, I've not heard Ujjwal's MCC level coaching. Will be, but I just know that it'll be very different from how I would coach. So this is paradoxical, Sunil. And I don't know whether, how that made you feel, but this is as honest as I could be.
I think the honesty is appreciated with you, because to a large extent we are looking for a radar, right? So we're looking for at least one beam of saying, hey, okay, this is possibly one direction. So from a beam of light going in all directions. So a little bit of direction essentially helps us to know that this is it. But this aspect which I really loved was it's Sunil's mastery, Ujjwal's mastery,
Yeah,
Vijay's
yeah,
mastery,
yeah.
XYZ's mastery. So it is your own internal this thing, and it brings me to possibly spirituality. So there's one God, but the path to that is
Yeah,
however that you
absolutely.
take it, kind of a thing. And then that's how I choose to read it. So, but yeah, from somebody who's primed to look at certain markers and say certain milestones in the structure, it's very easy for coaches getting into the system and getting into that space to feel lost, right? So I get calls quite often saying that I'm not confident enough to coach anymore. I think I'm going back to whatever I used to do before, which is extremely polar opposite from coaching, because I'm not finding it. Either it's not giving me the money or it's not giving me the satisfaction, and I feel like I am don't belong in that space. So there's that side where I feel like personally, because I know the person, I know that they're excellent coaches. They may not have yet reached a level where, from an organizational point of view, from a certain structural point of view, they've not yet got to that space, but they're on that road. They're excellent. But then at some point, they have no sort of a creeper or a something support structure to hold on to, because everything is chaos. It's like you're swimming in the universe, and everywhere you go, the only thing that you're seeing is there are stars all around, and then there's ether all around. So it feels very difficult when there's no directionality to that point. Maybe there also that the mentoring is also looked at as only I am done with 10 hours and thank you, tata, bye bye. Right? So there's 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 some gaps around that system that needs maybe a deeper look.
Can I add something here?
You should be, considering you are the celebrated coach educator.
Oh, no, no. Thank you, Vichi. Yeah. So, yeah, when somebody refers someone to me, I check with them that, do you want to punish this person in any other way rather than sending it to me? So, okay. So, Sunil, you rightly pointed out about mentorship. First of all, I have a personal objection about MCC level mentoring is also for 10 hours, where it is largely actually uh, 30, 40 hours of mentoring must be going there. This is what I believe. But I link it to where mentors can come in. So there are some transactional mentors. They say that, okay, I'll make you pass MCC. My job is done. I'll review 4 or 5 recordings. My job is done types. Another is what you mentioned about, when I'm watching a demo, and absolutely agree with Viji's point of views there. So just taking it slightly forward, that I have watched a demo. Now, it is in no way going to be the real life MCC coaching, how it is going to work. But say I am a coach in the making and I want to learn. The problem is not in learning. The problem is people mindlessly copying. Okay.
Hmm.
One of my coaches whom I was working with suddenly started 7 8 times in the coaching session. Who are you being? Who are you being? And that's a different pattern I noticed. Now, I as a mentor need to have the idea that how the person's authentic original coaching style is, and keeping that almost intact, how this person adds the marker related techniques and adapts to that. So I asked that I have never asked you, I never heard you asking this question, from where it came from. Oh, I watched a demo and that was such a transfer. And I said, how did you know that it was a transformational coaching demo? He said, no, it was mentioned in the caption was throughout the session was transformational coaching demo. I said, great. Perhaps what you saw, what you did not see, that DEMO, there was N at the end, but it was silent. It's a demon. It's going to collapse your original coaching style. I said, who are you being? And every time client is not understanding. This guy is saying that, who are you being? Says, sorry, I didn't get you. And this guy goes on explaining. So learning is fine, but what are you learning? What are you extracting? What are you applying? Is something that's where some, hand-holding or some awareness or application of mind is required.
I want to add on, Ujjwal. So you're talking about who are you being? Very similar experience. I was mentoring somebody and giving feedback or whatever, was asked to
Yeah.
look at, a recorded session, right? And this coach asked in that recording at least 4 times to the
Mhm.
client saying, so how are you feeling now? First time, the client was a bit puzzled. Second time, I think they answered the question. Third time, they kind of started getting a little irritated. And I think the final time, they actually said, it almost kind of bordered on rude. It was like, does it matter? Or something like that. The point is this. See, the competencies do talk about the coach being comfortable, checking in on feelings, and all of that. But it also talks, and the fundamental of coaching is you understand the client's learning style. To a client who is not very comfortable with the space of emotion, genuinely, your job is not to flesh out and bring the emotional side of the client out. And I coach several clients like that. We're not very comfortable, and that's fine. So you then adapt your style in a way that serves them best for what? To find success with whatever goal they came for. Yeah. Your job in coaching, while I know we talk about the whole person of the client, etc., is not to put everybody through an unsolicited transformation program. Okay. I think it's very important to understand this. And masterful coaching can also be not transformative if the client chooses. It can be quite outcome based, it can be performance based, but it can still be masterful in its approach. So, I think understanding that the client's learning style, our learning style, and that applies for mastery as well. Okay, each of us can bring out that dimension in a certain way, which is why I go back to where I started, Sunil. It's about, I think, highlighting and harnessing the natural strengths that you have, which so many of us, especially, with years of coaching and expectation of others and the system, etc., we get so conditioned to show up and be clones in a certain way, right? This is not a automated service. When no two clients are ever the same. I mean, have you ever in your practice seen, both of you have seen clients who are ditto the same in all ways? I'm yet to see. I don't even see twins like that. So then why are we as coaches trying to standardize and replicate? Minimum standards, ethics, all of that is very important. Yeah, and I think there is no black and white. I mean, there's no gray in that. It should not be. But mastery, I think, cannot be standardized. So, in fact, I would then say, Sunil, let's have the demos, but let them be real demos, the way it really happens. See the incompleteness. See, I think, see the struggles. And through all that, also see presence. How the client picks themselves, how the coach picks themselves up. How the coach rolls back something, how they show up with that grace, how they show up with genuine learning mindset. I think those are things that we should pick up from that and not necessarily put that conversation through a set of markers saying, oh, did it take this, did it take this, did it take this. My worry, like Ujjwal said, is people, let's say a learner of somebody who's aspiring to feather will start doing that. It's very easy to pick up the minimum standards or the marker set and say, okay, did Ujjwal ask this, right? Did Ujjwal meet this question? Sorry, it's very difficult to do that.
No, Vijay, I think to a large extent, some of these coaches that I meet already come with that from the coach training space itself, saying this is how you need to ask the questions, and that 83 questions kind of a thing that I told you is that kind of training, and it's almost become a what is that coach factory, and rather than a coach federation, it's become a coach factory. So right through, and some, I saw an ad which said ICF level 1, 35,000 people in the community, 400 batches done. And I was like, oh, where are these coaches? Because on the ICF structure, this says 65,000 and above. And here there is saying 35,000. So one institute that says if they put out 35,000 out there. So, and also from the institute itself, we don't see any official statement saying that's not how it needs to be done. And then it becomes everybody's Sarkar, everybody's Raj, to say, oh, this is how it is. And the ones who come in have zero knowledge about this. And whoever is their first guru makes or breaks their coaching practice. So there is that sense of responsibility and ethics that demonstrates or needs to be demonstrated everywhere else. And what's getting clearer to me is that there is no one way to do this, and it should not be a one way to do this kind of a thing. And everything else that is possibly who you are finds some resonance in your particular way of coaching. And it always needs to be your particular way of coaching rather than, that's how it's taught in XYZ school. Right? So that unshackling has to be done from the client side itself, or the coach learner side itself.
And on mentors, I want to add something, Sunil, and Ujjwal did speak about it. I think there's a difference. So in the coaching world nowadays, there's always a talk of mentor coaching and there is supervision. There's one thing that I don't see enough talk about, and personally for me, that is a game changer in the life cycle or the ecosystem of any thriving coach, which is mentoring. Yeah, do not equate mentoring to mentor coaching, which is all about competencies and feedback based on demonstration of that, and supervision, which is a very different space. But I think we need more mentors. We need more real mentors who you can go to for a lifetime. And I am so proud to be able to have that kind of a relationship, and several of them are not even commercial, right? And that's also the way MCCs or senior coaches should be giving back. So I always tell myself, can I pass on? It's not about making somebody a clone of you, or it's not about teaching someone, but it's about genuinely and generously being able to share your lived experiences, right? In the service of the other person whose journey may be very different. And you and I have had those conversations as well, Sunil, right? I mean, we don't have a formal relationship. I mean, I don't think I've ever taught you or, any of that stuff. But how many mentor conversations we would have had, mentoring conversations where, and again, the common misconception, right? That it's a one-way imparting of experience. No, I've learned so much from you. And Ujjwal and I, right? I mean, apart from the friendship that we share, I think we also have a very nice mentoring relationship, a peer mentoring relationship. Several things I learn, and this is not about how many sessions or 10 hours or 20 hours or a package. Even assuming there was a commercial associated for it, there is something over and beyond. And I would say the biggest investment every coach can make is get yourself a mentor or two, the ones you can respect and you can trust, who can be there with you through the journey, right? And thankfully, mentoring has no boundary conditions in that sense that you can bring this topic or this topic, or you can talk about this or not talk about this.
True. And before Ujjwalji shares his wisdom, my happiness is that you two are that mentors for me, and that's a privilege I have, that I can ping you and drop a text message or a voice message saying this is what needs to be addressed whenever you're free. This give me 5-10 minutes. And I know the 5-10 minutes is only the entry point. It's generally a 1 hour conversation, but and the 5-10 minutes is what allows you, and that's been very graceful of you, and I'm very blessed with that. Thank you.
Feeling is mutual, Sunil.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think I 100% agree with what Vijay said. And these aspects also, Sunil, goes beyond the credentials part when rubber meets the road. Okay, so Vijay has spoken about this. I'll give say a light point of view there is that when rubber meets the road, okay, when the first inquiry comes in, they have to negotiate what to quote, what not to quote. Is this the kind of client I can coach? So all those insecurities and all that inner fears, whom they can share with. So there needs to be also a friendship in mentoring relationship where you can freely, frankly share and also offer an advice, offer a guidance, and also at the same time you can get a feedback also. Oh, what you recommended, I tried, but it didn't work. So you also get enriched in the process, right? So it is very, very important. But also I would like to highlight that where are those authentic relationships hiding is what many coaches are asking because many a times a mentor is wanting to squeeze money, and once the job is done they don't go beyond the scope at all, which is okay. It's a very professional relationship, but the biggest heartbreak for coaches happen when they feel that all those mastery level qualities that I was envisaging in this person is behaving exactly opposite. So they start, and a human brain also has a tendency to generalize, right? So they said, oh, so all of them will be like that, and in the process they keep looking for those uh, lighthouse elements or candle elements where they find in some people who will be authentic and genuine. So my also observation here is that many of our people who supposedly are senior, they are visible, people look up to them, but their private experiences are very different. So I would also like to caution the listeners of this podcast that be buyers beware. So there is caveat emptor you need to be applying because as Indians we also have a habit of going into halo effect. Yeah, we start worshiping, and the biggest thing is that once you start worshiping you also absolve yourself of not behaving like them. Yeah, I'll just pray and then do my whatever bit. So that's a problem on both sides, putting somebody on a hero's pedestal and following blindly and then not actually following in practice. So I think my and Viji's common message here is that don't lose yourself, don't lose your authenticity, be who you are, and then learn to swim. At least have one anchor
Yeah.
yourself, which will not let you drown. Otherwise, manipulations are very much in the air.
Wow. I think that's a so perfect space to sort of pause this podcast. I know this is, we've traveled the waves of the sea, but I'm very mindful of the time because I know one question, even if I put one question, I know that's another episode in itself. So I think I am very enriched, very inspired, and now I have a lot of things to sort of sit with this, and too many takeaways for sure. So what
So
am
you're
I
not going to
learning?
ask us to summarize, right?
I wish I could, but then I'll ask you a question which
From the
is
83 question bank.
83 questions.
I want to see that, yeah, Sunil, by the
Oh,
way.
I also want to them yet to come back with that one. So But anyways, I have one possible last thing to sort of let you
Yeah,
go.
sure.
If you were to share a story that's inspired you across life, fables or a real one, what is that? What is that story, and why does it? Why do you get inspired from it?
Ujjwal is the storyteller, so I'm going to pass that on to him.
Okay. So, Sunil, I think that's a tough question to deal with. But I think one of the stories that has really helped in not feeling overloaded with what's happening around, right? If you're chasing credential or if you're chasing clients, and if you are running to open an account in JP Morgan Chase, everything is chasing, right? So, our great realized sage from Tiruvannamalai, Ramana Maharshi, shared this. So somebody said that, I'm having so much of worries, I'm so much of anxieties, and I have been trying to work on it, but I think life has been very difficult. So Ramana asked that, do you trust God or universe or whatever your manifestation is? He said, yeah, yeah, I trust. So Ramana said, I don't think so. You are trusting enough. So he said, no, I think I trust, but still I'm worried. That was the essence. So Ramana said this beautifully. He said that, and at that time, see, in 1800s, right? He said, if you go to a railway station, if you have to travel somewhere, so how do you carry your luggage? So that villager said that I carry the luggage on my head. I said, okay, how many suitcases? So he said two or three or four. Okay. So once you board the train, what do you do with those suitcases? He said, I'll put it down below the seat. I said, okay. So you don't hold anymore? He said, why don't you hold anymore? He said, because I trust that I sit back, relax, and the suitcases that I put down will still reach the same destination. I said, so whom are you trusting? He said, I trust the train and the engine driver. He said, exactly. So in the real life, why can't you trust the universe? With all the load that you carry, why don't you give it to the universe? And still it will reach wherever it is supposed to reach. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So that's the story which has stayed with me.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
And good stories inspire Ujjwal,
yes,
right? So I
absolutely.
found my inspiration, and I'm not a storyteller, but this is a personal narrative and a real story. Uh, about 15 years ago, when there was somebody very close in my life who was ailing, quite critically, and we needed to do a certain kind of blood transfusion that could potentially seem little risky to the donors, yeah, because it's not a direct sort of transfusion, but an invasive kind of transfusion process, and a reasonably less known blood group. I won't call it rare, but reasonably less known blood group. And when we were trying to seek out donors, several people we knew and potentially could have helped did not. Yeah, I mean, no hard feelings about it, because, like I said, it could have been a potentially risky thing. And so we just threw it out open into the universe. And that was a time when I think these kind of organized blood bank systems and having the kind of tech reach that is there today is maybe not there. Through the, I think, our goodwill and our goodwill of our networks, and the one good thing we were blessed was it was able to reach far and wide. Um, Amongst several people who did come, there was this one young man, must be hardly even 25, 30 years of age, who came in, and that was supposed to be the day of religious fasting. Yeah. And it was a working day. Who came in, almost spent half a day at the hospital. And I understood did not fast. Broke a tradition of, I don't know, several years. Yeah. Highly religious person. And was able to give that transfusion, which, amongst one of the many people who made that difference in seeing that turning point through. You know what we found out later? This person was working in a shift in an entertainment sector and had actually taken a leave without pay, broken the religious fast, the religious requirement, and came in that day to give blood to a completely unknown stranger. Now, this is what I call, Ujjwal may say the universe, I call it humanity. And I think this is what we need in our profession. And this, to me, is fundamental before any journey to mastery starts. Without being measured in our giving, without being measured in our being, can you still be that force of good that this profession that is so sacred like coaching allows you to do beyond all of your titles and roles and everything, and be that person who still came? And when we reached out to this person to thank and to write a letter to the organization, the simple response was, I've done this being a good God-fearing person. Please do not make this seem like an act that goes public. And on their request, we held back, and I held back, and I lived with that guilt of not even acknowledging this person and canceling and taking on. The least I could do was take on the leave of pay on me. Right? But that would have meant reducing the magnitude and the depth of that human contribution. So there are some things that cannot be measured in titles and credentials and money and hours. And that, to me, is at the core of our profession. And I wish today everybody who's listening, who has something to do with coaching, understands the power of being human first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Which we can, before Sunil comes with the closing note, I can recommend a resource that all of us live by, but many coaches might not know about it. Is what Vijay, Sunil, all of us have learned is unconditional positive regard, right? Carl Rogers' approach. So I would strongly recommend. Vijay has had a very powerful closing story to share. So just adding on to it, that if you are into any helping profession such as coaching, On Becoming a Person by Dr. Carl Rogers is like a Bible. So you must order it and learn along, practice along. And what Vijay has mentioned, that humanitarian aspect will come first, then everything else will follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Ujjwal.
I think that's. I was not sure if I had to ask this question to you at the end, because we've done a very structured conversation so far. But I think that two stories, wow. So, and thank you for being vulnerable and sharing all that you shared. And I think this is possibly a start of say episode 1 of MCCs on the hot seat. It's a good start off point. Good kickoff point. I've been doing it with two of my very close gurus and friends, and I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with you. And
And
so,
you were amazing, Sunil. We didn't have a topic. You didn't give us any questions as much as I asked you to come mentally prepared for. You went with the flow. And there you
yes,
were,
yeah,
being, I would say, a very masterful host and I think facilitator for this conversation.
always a joy. I think I didn't know how the time went. It's only now that I have to just keep an eye on the timeline. Otherwise, it would have gone for as long as it has to. So, as a kid watching for a lack of a better analogy, a grandmother and a grandfather sort of, share stories from their experience. Lack of better analogy, I told that. So I was just mesmerized with what was happening, and I think there's a lot to learn, absorb from sitting with this podcast. When I sit for editing, I know there will be a lot more gems that will come out, and then I can package it and share it with the rest of the world as well. So yeah, I think thank you for your time, and thanks for all the conversations that led here. So the universe has brought us together on this place, and yeah, more adventures.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Ujjwal. Always a pleasure to reconnect. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Thank you.